I had never been the type to check my phone obsessively, especially not when I was in the middle of something important. I used to think that people who were constantly glued to their screens were a bit ridiculous. But everything changed when I received that one call. The one that made me realize how much I didn't know about the woman I had been married to for 8 years. It was a Wednesday afternoon, just after I had finished an early meeting at work. I had planned to grab lunch and head back home for some downtime. That's when the call came through, an unknown number flashing on the screen. Normally, I'd have ignored it, but for some reason, that day I answered. "Hello," I said, still distracted, not expecting the voice on the other end. "Is this Felix Grover?" The voice asked, its tone sharp, clipped. "Yeah, speaking," I replied, still a little disoriented. The voice paused for a moment, as if the person on the other end was weighing something before continuing. "I need you to meet me. I have something important to discuss." "Who is this?" I asked, confusion creeping into my voice. I didn't recognize the number, and the tone was starting to feel a little off. The voice didn't hesitate. "I'm someone who knows your wife. I need to talk to you, and it's urgent. You'll want to hear this." There was a moment of silence, and then they hung up. My mind raced as I stared at the phone in my hand. Who was that? Why didn't they introduce themselves properly? And why would someone need to meet me to discuss Tara? I knew my wife. At least, I thought I did. Tara was the center of my world. We had met in college, and for years, we had been a team. Sure, we weren't perfect, but I trusted her more than anyone. We had built a life together, stable, predictable, and comfortable. But suddenly, I was questioning everything. I tried to shake off the unease. It was probably just some misunderstanding, a prank even. But I couldn't deny the gnawing feeling in my gut. Something didn't sit right with me. The phone call replayed in my head, over and over. I decided to go home early that day. Tara had mentioned that she'd be working late on some project, so I expected to have the house to myself for a few hours. I needed to clear my head. When I walked through the front door, I was greeted by silence. Tara's car was in the driveway, but she wasn't inside. I checked the kitchen, then the living room, and finally, I walked down the hallway toward our bedroom. That's when I saw the first sign that something was off. The bedroom door was slightly ajar, and I could hear voices inside. I froze. It was Tara's voice, but there was another one, deep, male, low. A voice I didn't recognize. I tried to tell myself that I was overreacting. Maybe it was just a phone call, a colleague, or even someone from her work. But then, as I stood there in the hallway, I heard the unmistakable sound of laughter, a laugh that made the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. It wasn't just a friendly chuckle. No, this was different. It was intimate. Too intimate. I hesitated for a moment, my heart pounding in my chest. Then, against every instinct I had, I pushed open the door. What I saw inside hit me like a punch to the gut. Tara was sitting on the edge of the bed, a man standing in front of her. He was tall, with broad shoulders and a confident posture. I didn't recognize him at all. His hand was on her arm, too close, his fingers lingering as they spoke. Tara didn't seem to mind. In fact, she was smiling, the kind of smile she only reserved for me when we were alone. They both turned at the sound of the door creaking open. Tara's face immediately flushed with guilt, her eyes widening. The man's expression shifted to something unreadable, almost like he'd been caught, but not entirely surprised. "Felix, Tara started, but her voice trailed off. I stood there, frozen, my mind struggling to process what I was seeing. The silence in the room felt deafening, the weight of the moment heavy on my chest. Tara looked like she wanted to say something, anything, but nothing came out. The stranger, who I now realized wasn't a stranger at all, smiled as if nothing was wrong. "I think it's time we finally had a talk, don't you think?" I could barely move. My feet felt like they were glued to the floor as I struggled to grasp the reality of the situation. But something about that smile, the way it didn't reach his eyes, made it clear that whatever was happening here, it wasn't just a simple mistake. There was something far more complicated going on, and I had just walked in on the beginning of it. I couldn't tear my eyes away from them. Tara, who had always been my rock, the woman I thought I knew better than anyone, sitting on our bed, smiling at a man I'd never seen before like they shared some secret I wasn't part of. The laughter still echoed in my ears, and for a moment, I almost forgot how to breathe. "Felix." "I didn't," Tara began, her voice faltering as she stood up quickly, as if she hadn't expected me to walk in. The man, too, made no effort to hide the awkwardness of the situation. His smile shifted into something less warm, more calculating. His hand dropped from Tara's arm, but the energy in the room hadn't changed. It felt thick, suffocating. I opened my mouth to speak, but nothing came out at first. The shock was too much. How had I not seen this coming? How could I have missed the signs? The phone calls, the late nights at work, the way she would sometimes flinch when I touched her. Had all of this been a warning? The man stood up straighter, an almost predatory gleam in his eyes. I think it's best if we clear the air now, he said, his tone cool but confident. Tara shot him a pleading glance, but I couldn't take my eyes off him. I was more angry than anything else now. Angry at myself for being so blind, for trusting her without questioning. But there was something about the way he spoke, the way his presence seemed to fill the room, that made me feel even more unsettled. Who are you? I finally managed to ask, my voice shaky, barely above a whisper. The man didn't respond immediately. Instead, he looked at Tara, almost as if asking for permission. Tara, however, remained silent, her eyes glued to the floor, unwilling to meet my gaze. His name is Jared, she said softly, almost too quietly to hear. Jared. The name didn't mean anything to me, but something in the way she said it, as if it were an ordinary name, made my stomach turn. I'm a colleague, Jared said smoothly, his voice like polished stone. But I think there's a little more to the story than just that. I clenched my fists at my sides, my knuckles white. More to the story? I repeated, my voice growing sharper. What is this, Tara? What's going on here? Tara took a deep breath, finally lifting her gaze to mine. There was a look in her eyes. Guilt, yes, but also something I couldn't quite place. Maybe fear, or maybe something darker. I didn't want you to find out this way, she said, her voice cracking. But Felix, this wasn't just about work. Jared and I. She stopped herself before finishing the sentence, but I didn't need to hear the rest. I could see it in the way she was standing, in the tension between them. There was something between them, something real. I turned my gaze back to Jared, trying to keep the shaking from my voice. How long has this been going on? Jared's smile was gone now, replaced by a more serious expression. He shrugged nonchalantly, as if he were talking about something as mundane as the weather. Long enough, he said simply. I felt my world crumbling around me. Everything I thought I knew, everything I had trusted, felt like it was slipping through my fingers. Tara had always been the one person I could count on, the one person who had never betrayed me. But here we were. She was standing in front of me, with him, and I couldn't escape the truth anymore. I don't know what to say, Tara whispered, her voice filled with tears. I never meant for this to happen, Felix. But I couldn't keep lying to you. I felt a surge of anger, not just at her, but at myself. How had I let this happen? How had I ignored all the signs? But there was one thing I needed to know. Why? I asked, my voice barely a whisper, my heart heavy. Why him? Tara's eyes flickered between Jared and me, her face a mix of shame and something else I couldn't identify. It wasn't about him, Felix. It was about me. About something I've been struggling with, something I haven't told you. Jared stepped forward then, as if he had waited for this moment. Tara's been dealing with a lot of things, Felix. Things she didn't feel like she could talk to you about. But I've been here to listen, to help her through it. I didn't know what hurt more, the betrayal, or the fact that Jared seemed so calm, so confident in his role in all of this. Tara wasn't just my wife anymore. She had become someone else, someone I didn't recognize. And Jared? He was the one who had taken my place. But I wasn't about to let this go. Not yet. The air between us thickened, heavy with the tension of unspoken truths. I could hear my heartbeat in my ears, a loud thump that seemed to echo in the silence of the room. Tara's eyes flickered between me and Jared, and I could see the weight of her decision pressing down on her. I never wanted this to happen, Tara whispered, her voice trembling. I wasn't sure if she was talking to me or to herself. My hands felt numb as I clenched them tighter. Then why didn't you tell me? Why did you let it go on? I asked, trying to keep the rage in my voice in check. But before she could answer, Jared stepped forward, his calm demeanor unshaken by the raw emotion in the room. It's not just about what happened, he said, his voice smooth and deliberate. It's about what's coming next, Felix. I looked at him, confused. What do you mean? Jared glanced at Tara before turning back to me, his eyes cold. There's more to this than just you and her, he said. This whole thing is bigger than you think. The words hung in the air, like a dark cloud about to burst. I felt a chill crawl down my spine. What are you talking about? I asked, my voice barely more than a whisper. Jared didn't answer right away. He looked at Tara again, a silent conversation passing between them. Tara shifted uncomfortably, her hands twisting in front of her, clearly on edge. Then Jared finally spoke, his voice lower now, as though the weight of what he was about to say had only just hit him. The truth is, Felix, you've been kept in the dark for far too long. About more than just your wife. A cold dread washed over me. What does that mean? Tara took a step toward me, her eyes pleading. Felix, please. I never wanted to hurt you. I didn't know how to handle everything that was going on, and I thought I could keep it from you. But I can't anymore. Jared raised an eyebrow, his lips curling into something between a smirk and a knowing grin. You really have no idea, do you? He asked. I stared at him, my mind racing, but I couldn't piece together the puzzle. Everything felt like it was slipping through my fingers. The world I thought I knew was cracking open, revealing things I never even imagined. Tara's voice broke through my thoughts. Felix, you need to know the truth. You need to understand why things are happening the way they are. I could see the desperation in her eyes now, a far cry from the woman who used to be so confident, so sure of everything. I'll listen, I said, my voice a low rasp. Jared stepped aside as Tara reached for my hand. She looked at me, her eyes filled with regret. It's not just about me and Jared, Felix. It's about my family, about my past. The words didn't make sense at first. Tara's family? Her past? I didn't know how those things could possibly be connected to what was happening now, but the dread in my stomach told me it wasn't going to be good. She continued, I didn't know how to tell you about this, about everything that's been happening, but it's time you knew the truth. Jared leaned back against the wall, arms crossed, his eyes on us. It was clear that he was enjoying this, like he was a spectator at a show, waiting for the big reveal. I wanted to scream at him, to demand answers, but I needed Tara to explain herself first. I was never just a regular woman, Felix, Tara said quietly, her voice shaky. My family. They're involved in things you wouldn't believe. Things I tried to distance myself from when I met you. The words hit me like a slap to the face. What do you mean? What things? I asked, my voice hoarse with confusion and fear. Tara shook her head, her eyes brimming with unshed tears. I never wanted you to know, Felix. I thought I could leave it behind, but it's all come back now. And it's threatening everything, my job, my safety, and ours. Jared uncrossed his arms, stepping forward. It's not just about your marriage, Felix. It's about people who don't like being crossed. And Tara? She's been caught in the middle of something much bigger than either of you realized. I felt the blood drain from my face. What had I walked into? What had Tara gotten herself into? Tara's words hung in the air, and for a moment, I couldn't move. My heart pounded in my chest, but I still couldn't make sense of what she had just said. People threatening her? A past she'd kept hidden from me? I had to know more. What do you mean, Tara? What past? What people? My voice was tight with a mix of fear and confusion. I felt like I was on the edge of something I wasn't prepared for. She hesitated, glancing at Jared. He gave her a small nod, but it felt more like a command than a gesture of reassurance. Tara slowly looked back at me, her face pale, her lips trembling. It's not just about us, she whispered. There's a lot I've kept from you, Felix. Things I thought I could bury. I wanted to shout at her, demand the full truth right there. But I could see she was struggling to find the words. This wasn't the woman I married. This was someone I barely recognized. Jared spoke up again, his voice cold. You're starting to understand, aren't you, Felix? This isn't a normal marriage. Tara's family. They've been involved in dangerous things for years. Things that people like you, normal people, don't get mixed up in. Tara flinched at his words, but she didn't say anything. Her silence made the weight of his statement heavier. I turned to her, trying to read her face, but she wouldn't look me in the eyes. It felt like a betrayal, but worse, like everything I thought I knew about her was a lie. Tell me everything, Tara, I demanded, my voice shaking with frustration. Who are these people? What have you been hiding from me? Jared chuckled, low and dark. You're not going to like the answer, Felix. I turned back to him, anger rising in my chest. I didn't ask you. I asked her. But Tara still wouldn't speak. She was trembling now, her face twisted with regret. I never wanted you to get involved in this, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. But it's too late now. You're already involved. My pulse raced. Involved in what? What the hell are you talking about? Jared's smile grew, and I could see the satisfaction in his eyes. He was enjoying this. Whatever this was, he was enjoying watching me fall apart. I think it's time you knew the full story, he said, stepping closer to me. Tara's family isn't just some ordinary family, Felix. They've been running things under the radar for years. And now, they're in deep with people you'd never want to meet. People who can make all your problems disappear, permanently. I felt the ground shift beneath me, my mind reeling with what he was implying. What are you saying? That Tara's family is involved in. What? Crime? Jared nodded slowly, his grin widening. You could say that. But it's not just the family. Tara's been more involved than you think. She's been part of things for years, things that go deeper than you know. She's not who you think she is. I looked at Tara again, my head spinning. Was it possible? Was she really part of something like this? How had I never seen it? How had I been so blind? I'm not like them, Tara said suddenly, her voice breaking through my thoughts. I've always tried to keep you out of it, Felix. I didn't want you to ever get dragged into this mess. But the damage was already done. The truth was out, whether I was ready to hear it or not. I don't know who you are anymore, I said, my voice barely more than a whisper. This isn't the woman I married. Tara closed her eyes, tears streaming down her face. I never meant for any of this to happen. I didn't want to drag you into this world, Felix. I tried to protect you. But it was too late. Whatever secrets she had been keeping, whatever dangerous game she was playing, had already pulled me in. And I wasn't sure if I could ever get out. I was shaking, not from the cold, but from the shock of it all. Tara wasn't just my wife. She was someone else, someone tied to a world I never even knew existed. A world filled with danger, secrets, and lies. And here I was, the last to know. Felix, Tara started, her voice trembling, but I couldn't listen anymore. The betrayal ran too deep. I don't want to hear it. I cut her off, my voice colder than I intended. I don't want to hear your excuses. Jared, standing there with that smug expression, finally spoke. You think this is just about your wife, Felix? It's bigger than that. You're in over your head now. I turned to him, my fists clenched. You don't know anything about me. Jared stepped closer, his eyes never leaving mine. I know more than you think. You're already involved, whether you like it or not. You've been for a while now. I didn't understand. My mind was spinning, trying to make sense of everything, but it just didn't add up. How had I not seen the signs? How had I married into a family like this? Tara looked at me, her face full of regret. Felix, please. I never wanted you to find out this way. I was done listening to her. I didn't ask for any of this. My words were harsh, but they were the truth. I didn't want to be dragged into her twisted web. Jared watched us both, his expression growing more serious. This isn't just about you two. Tara's family, they don't just run a business. They run a whole underground operation. And now, you're part of it, whether you want to be or not. I felt the world tilt under me. What are you talking about? I stammered. What kind of operation? Jared gave me a look of amusement. The kind of operation that's been operating under the radar for years. Tara's father, her uncle, they've been involved in things that most people only hear about in crime documentaries. I stared at him, unable to process the words. My head was spinning. Tara's family? Running illegal operations? It didn't make sense. Tara stepped forward, her voice barely a whisper. I didn't know how to get out of it, Felix. I thought I could walk away, but it was too late. I got pulled back in, and now you're involved too. The weight of her words hit me like a freight train. So you're telling me you've been living a lie this entire time? That everything I thought I knew about you was a facade? She closed her eyes, the tears flowing freely now. I never meant for any of this to happen. I turned to Jared, fury rising inside me. What do you want from me? Jared's smile faded, and for the first time, I saw a flicker of something darker in his eyes. What I want, Felix, is for you to understand that there's no going back. Once you're in this world, you're in for good. I didn't know if I could believe him, but the more I thought about it, the more I realized he was right. I was already in. The words Jared spoke hit me harder than any punch ever could. Once you're in this world, you're in for good. I couldn't shake them off. They looped in my mind, over and over, like a warning I wasn't sure I could escape. Tara stood there, trembling, her face flushed with guilt. Felix, please, she whispered, but her voice broke. I never wanted to pull you into this. I thought I could protect you. Protect me? I scoffed, disbelief flooding my veins. From what? From you? She looked as though my words had struck her, but I didn't care. I was past caring about soft words and promises. I needed answers, not apologies. Jared, seeing the tension between us, finally spoke again, but his tone had shifted. There's no point in fighting it, Felix. Tara's right. You're already tangled in this web, and there's no easy way out. But I'm here to offer you a choice. A choice. Those two words hung in the air like a challenge, and I wasn't sure I wanted to hear the options he was offering. What kind of choice? I asked, my voice tight, my anger barely contained. He stepped closer, his gaze intense. You can walk away, Felix. But walking away means leaving Tara behind. And if you leave now, there's a very real chance you'll never see her again. Not because she'll choose someone else, but because there are people in this world who don't take kindly to someone walking away from their plans. My heart skipped a beat. The way he said it, so casually, made it all the more terrifying. Their plans. That was the part that stuck with me. The part that made me question just how deep Tara's involvement really went. I turned to Tara, my mind racing. Is this true? Are these people really capable of doing something to you? To me? The weight of it all felt suffocating, like the walls were closing in. She met my eyes, tears streaming down her face. I never wanted any of this for you, Felix. But I'm not the same person you married. I can't be. I've been in this world for too long. Jared's grin returned, though it wasn't kind. You'll have to decide, Felix. You can either stick by her side, accept the dangers that come with it, and take your chances in a world you'll never understand, or you can walk away. But know this, if you walk, Tara won't survive it. The air between us grew heavier. My mind raced through the possibilities, but none of them felt right. I loved Tara. I thought I knew her, but how could I reconcile the woman I thought I knew with the one standing before me? Caught up in something far darker than I could have imagined? Why are you telling me this? I finally asked, my voice hoarse with frustration. Jared's eyes gleamed, like he was enjoying every second of my struggle. Because you need to understand what you're getting into, Felix. Because once you choose, there's no going back. We're not talking about petty criminals here. These are people who have power, people who own entire industries. I shook my head, unable to grasp the enormity of what he was saying. But I'm not a part of this world. I'm not like you or Tara. That's what you think, Jared interrupted. But in this game, Felix, it's not about who you were. It's about who you become once you're in. I turned back to Tara, her face as pale as I'd ever seen it. I saw the terror in her eyes, the way her lips trembled as she waited for me to make my decision. And in that moment, I realized I didn't just have a choice to make. I had a decision that would alter everything. Do I walk away and never look back, leaving behind the woman I loved, the woman I thought I knew? Or do I step into this dangerous world, knowing it could cost me more than just my peace of mind? Tara reached out, her hand shaking. Felix, please don't leave me. I need you. We can find a way out of this together. But the way she said it didn't sound like hope. It sounded like desperation. And I wasn't sure if I could save her. I wasn't sure if we could survive this. The silence between us was deafening. Tara's hand, trembling in the air, felt like a lifeline. But the more I stared at her, the more I realized I didn't know who she was anymore. How could I trust her? How could I trust myself? You have no idea what you're asking me to do. I muttered, my voice barely a whisper. I don't belong in this world. I don't even understand half of what's going on. Tara's eyes filled with tears again. I never wanted this for you, Felix. But it's too late. You're already part of it. The words hit harder than I expected. Too late. That's when I realized she wasn't just talking about the situation. She was talking about the life I was living now. She was right. No matter how much I wanted to walk away, it wasn't that simple. Jared watched us closely, clearly enjoying my internal struggle. There's no easy way out, he said, his voice smooth and cold. You'll have to make a choice, Felix. Either you embrace the darkness with her, or you turn your back on everything you thought you knew. I wanted to scream. I wanted to run out of that room, to escape all of it. But no matter how hard I tried, the weight of the situation kept me in place. I could feel the pull to protect Tara, to stand by her side, even though I didn't know what I was walking into. You think I'm going to just accept this? I said, my voice shaking with frustration. You think I'll be okay with all of this? With you? Jared's smirk didn't falter. You don't have to like it, Felix. But you're already too deep. You can't unknow what you know. Tara stepped closer, her face desperate. Please, Felix. I never wanted to hurt you. I never wanted this for us. I could see the fear in her eyes. She was scared, too, but for different reasons. She was afraid of losing me, yes, but she was also afraid of what would happen if I stayed. The choice was mine, but I didn't know what the right one was. How could I? Both options felt like a slow descent into hell. I looked at Tara one last time. If I walk away, I began, my throat tight. What happens to you? Her lips trembled as she met my gaze. I don't know, but I won't survive without you, Felix. I can't do this alone. The room felt smaller, the air thicker. I felt like I was suffocating, trapped between the woman I loved and a world I didn't want to be a part of. Jared's voice broke through my thoughts. You're out of time, Felix. You need to decide now. I looked from Tara to Jared, the weight of my decision bearing down on me. There was no turning back now. I stood there, torn between the life I had known and the life that was being forced upon me. My heart hammered in my chest, the weight of the decision pressing down on me. Tara was standing in front of me, her eyes filled with fear and regret, her hands still trembling, reaching out as if she could somehow pull me into her world. I knew I had a choice to make, but for the first time, it felt impossible. I could walk away. I could turn my back on everything we'd built, on the woman I loved. But what would I be walking into? A life of regret, knowing I abandoned the person who needed me most? Or I could step into the unknown, embrace the darkness, the danger, and try to fight for her. But I didn't know if I could trust myself in a world so far removed from everything I believed in. Tara's voice broke through my thoughts, soft but firm. Felix, I'm so sorry. I never wanted any of this to happen. But I need you, more than anything. Please don't walk away from us. We can find a way out of this together. Her words hit me like a punch. I looked into her eyes, seeing the woman I had fallen in love with. This wasn't the Tara who had been hiding things from me. This wasn't the woman caught up in a world of secrets. This was the woman who needed me, who, despite her mistakes, was asking for my help. And in that moment, I realized something. Love isn't about perfection. It's not about the mistakes we make or the past we can't change. It's about choosing to stand by each other, even when everything seems impossible. I took a deep breath and reached for her hand. We're not walking away, Tara, I said, my voice steady. We're facing this together. Whatever happens next, we do it side by side. We fight. Tara's face softened, the tears still there, but now mixed with relief. She squeezed my hand, her grip stronger than I'd ever felt it before. I don't deserve you, Felix, but thank you. Thank you for not giving up on us. Jared, standing by the door, looked at us both. His expression had shifted, no longer amused but resigned. You're making a mistake, he said quietly. But it's your choice. Just know that the road ahead won't be easy. I nodded, my resolve hardening. I don't need you to tell me what's easy, Jared. We'll find our way through this. And as he left, the door closing quietly behind him, Tara and I stood there, hand in hand. We didn't know what the future would hold, but for the first time in a long time, I knew we would face it together. And that was enough. We would fight for our love. We would fight for our future. And no matter how dark the path ahead seemed, I was ready to walk it, because I wasn't walking it alone.